Hello, my friends, and welcome to another episode of Ghost Stories in Folklore. Tonight, I'm going to tell you about a very interesting location that once began as a small frame building intended to provide the men and women in Lake County, Ohio, a facility for higher learning. And that building, my friends, is the Madison Seminary in Madison, Ohio. Since it was built in 1847, there have been renovations and expansions, several owners and many different names. The building served as a school, a home for Civil War widows and orphans, a mental hospital, and rehabilitation center for women inmates, as well as government offices. The Madison Seminary has a very rich and interesting history, my friends, and is now known for being one of the most haunted locations in the Madison area. It's the haunted memories of the souls that have lived and worked at the building that seem to linger and interact with all the visitors that enter through the creaky doorways and walk down the long hallways. And that is what we will be focusing on in this video, my friends. Those ghost stories in folklore. There have been many paranormal reports from this building, from orbs to disembodied voices asking questions to guests and saying their names, mysterious knocking noises, footsteps, whispers, areas with strange unexplained cold spots, people waving from the upstairs windows when the building is empty, lights and water turning on by itself. Just all those things you would expect from a very active haunted building, my friends. Some of the craziest paranormal experiences in the building are related to EVPs and technical difficulties. From flashlights turning on and off on command, to technology losing all functionality. The paranormal teams that have gone out to the Madison Seminary have experienced quite a bit of activity. There seems to be several resident entities throughout the complex, and one of the most well-known spirits that haunt the Madison Seminary goes by the name of Sarah. It is believed that Sarah is a young girl that still haunts a room that has toys in it and is said to communicate with people when they take the time to visit with her. EVPs and playing around with the flashlights have been noted and documented. But she isn't the only one that stays in this room. There is another spirit in the room, and is said to be that of an old man that protects this young little girl for some reason. It can often create some tension within the space if little Sarah is disturbed too much. Now, aside from Sarah, there is said to be a ghost of a young boy named Steven that has been reported throughout the building as well. The tale tied to this young boy goes along the lines of a boy whose father died during the Civil War. After his father's death, his mother went to Madison Seminary in order to have a roof over their heads. For some reason or another, his spirit still haunts the building and will frequently make his presence known. There are also reports of a few female apparitions in the building, but no one knows for sure who these spirits can be yet. But I have a couple of theories of my own, my friends. One legend concerns a young girl who was left behind and died here when the structure was a boarding school. Another rumor is that there is the spirit of a female patient who was abused and neglected here when it was the Apple Creek State Hospital, while yet another rumor is that both the young girl and the woman are two forms of the same identified entity. There is also the story of a school teacher that mysteriously went missing around the same time a cement basement was being poured within the building. To this day, the case still remains open. However, there are some speculations that her body is buried beneath that cement down in the basement of Madison Seminary. Could this be the final resting place of the missing school teacher? There are also reports of a spirit of a man who haunts the same room in the basement and could be the one who murdered the school teacher. Is he there protecting his secret? Another story related to the Madison Seminary that could explain the female apparitions is that of Elizabeth Stiles. You see, Elizabeth Stiles once served as a spy for the Union Army during the Civil War. She was specially commissioned by Abraham Lincoln himself, and she also spent her final years at the building and is buried just an acre away from the building. Is she returning back to the building on occasion to find out who is lingering around in the hallways? The stories coming out of Madison's history can go on and on with different spirits, but I have one more to report to you that is quite interesting and happened not that very long ago, my friends. And this was when the building served as the local government offices. You see, back in 1991, there was a news writer for the Lake County News Herald, and he covered several Madison Township trustee meetings in the building. He recalled after one meeting, the trustees invited the press to tour the second floor where their offices were. They were gathered into the clerk's office, where she was trying to demonstrate the wonders of a new laser printer the township had recently purchased. But she couldn't get this wonderful new miracle of modern technology to turn on. She soon noticed that it was unplugged and remarked, "Well, that is strange. I never unplugged this." So she plugs it back in and punches the power button. But nothing would light up. The smug journalist exchanged a few snarky glances, thinking this was a typical government ineptitude. But at that moment, one of the ladies started complaining about a sudden coldness, and they all seemed to feel oddly uncomfortable and started edging towards the door to get out. The journalist could not wait to get out of those offices and the building itself. In fact, the reporter later commented that he was glad when the trustees moved to their new location. Other reports over the years are that of people describing that they have heard children playing inside, sounds of women in conversation, and unexplained footsteps throughout the entire building. Yet the building was empty. Foremost, several people have seen a spectral woman in white flittering up the stairs to the third floor. As a result, no one likes to go up there. On a third floor, my friends, it is far more likely to experience something at any given time than anywhere else in the building. It is hard to determine at this point in time, my friends, who all these spirits are that still reside at the Madison Seminary. But paranormal investigators and researchers are currently working on making that determination through their investigations. And I am sure, my friends, more information and claims will be reported in the future. If you like this episode of Ghost Stories and Folklore, be sure to hit the like button. And if you would like more videos from Panady videos in the future, make sure you hit the subscribe and the bell for notifications. If you dare.